So, hey, I am back in the studio today. It is a Tuesday after Labor Day weekend. So, we were traveling a bit for the Labor Day weekend. We were at the lake and it was so nice to get away. It was actually really cool weather. So, we didn't do a lot of like boating, wakeboarding, no tubing, none of that. It was like very chill, like lots of crafts, lots of reading. My in-laws got some nice like couches for the patio up by the cabin. And so we spent a lot of time just chilling and napping and like that kind of thing on the couches. So it was a really quick trip, but it was a nice relaxing trip. And then my kiddo actually stayed in Nebraska to stay with the grandparents. So I get to work all week and I am just so thrilled. So it's Tuesday, I am back in the studio. I usually am in the studio on Mondays also, but this is the first day back, but I also get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week. So I am thrilled. And then on Friday, my partner and I are actually going for a date night, and the date night that we chose to do is sauna and cold plunge at a little retreat spot that a now friend of ours runs. So we're just really, really excited. And I can't wait to tell you about sauna and cold plunge. So that's what this week kind of looks like. I'm in the studio working on the turmeric prints. I learned a bunch of stuff with those. So I was actually using a negative to print, and I need to use a positive with the way that this process works. So I have positives on there now, and I'm trying 3 more. I want to scan the first one that I did, even though it's an error. And then I'm doing a bunch of video editing and a lot of computer work. So mostly today I've just been working on computer work, honestly, and marketing for the coaching business and that kind of thing. So that's where I've been, but I'm gonna show you what I get up to the rest of this month. Just had to document the picked up studio for 2 seconds. I spent a while picking up this area, my daughter's studio area. Don't look at that closet. And my desk is clear. Everything's been piled all week, which obviously shows where I've been mentally, but it's picked up now. Hey, so I am back in the studio today. It seems like it's been forever, even though I was here last Monday and Tuesday. I was working on some digital content work for clients and mostly just not working on studio stuff. So I was working on other other like work stuff. And today is the first day that I'm actually prioritizing getting back into some projects and that kind of thing. But we were also traveling. We went to the Great Sand Dunes with some friends and some new friends, and we were camping, doing our last camping trip of the season. It was such a beautiful experience, and just getting to lay in those dunes of sand was just so healing, and to get to see those stars in that dark area of our state. And it was just really impactful. So I'm super grateful for that time, but I was definitely not in the studio and definitely not working on my artwork. So, and then coming back from that, so I missed like a day of work. So then coming back from that, I just had less studio time than I wanted to have. So this is the first day back, and I had to spend quite a lot of time organizing the studio space because my desk has gotten piled up, my kiddo's desk had gotten piled up, and I am really, really, really letting go of the urge to organize all of her art and craft supplies today because her craft closet is an absolute disaster. So, but it's been a gentle day. So my crew is out of the house today. They're usually here because today's Saturday. I work on Saturdays and they're usually around when I'm working. And I work from home. The studio's at home. And they are off on an adventure. There's a cool thing in our state where you can go pick up wood that the Forest Service has thinned out. So you can get a permit, you can go pick up wood in the mountains, and we get to use that as firewood in our wood burning stove. So we actually have a super high efficiency wood burning stove that can actually do pretty well at heating our house throughout the winter, and we love using that. And so my partner went through the whole thing to get the permit to borrow a trailer to go up to the mountains, get this wood. They're also doing an off-road trail that's nearby in the Forerunner while they're up there, and then they will be back. So I have ample amount of time today to just do my thing rather than the usual, like as soon as I go out the door, like all of life is happening and I get like reeled into things, right? So I took some really slow time in the living room. I kind of took over the living room and smudged and did some smoke clearings, pulled some oracle cards, did some of my morning pages, looked through the Tao of Photography, a book that my mentor gave to me just to kind of reset and ground because our trip to the sand dunes was so wonderful and so beautiful, and also I was kind of having a mental health spike while we were there, and so that's another reason why I haven't really been in the studio this week until today. I have just been struggling with some mental health stuff, and so I am doing all of the things today to be able to reset, ground, get back to myself, and get back to some clear thinking in order to be able to make. And what I can access today is I did some little like exposure drawings, what I'm going to start calling exposure drawings in the sketchbook with oil pastel outside. And then I looked through the Tao of Photography a little bit. I did a little bit of gardening. We're kind of at the end of our season here in Colorado. And so there I have my beans, my beans. I have purple carbonate beans that I grow every year, and they are our highest producers this year. We have had the strangest gardening season that I have ever had gardening. And we are at this time, we're usually just drowning in tomatoes. And we mixed a little bit of chaos gardening with just the most bizarre weather year that we've had in a while. And our beans are our highest producer this year. But I actually did harvest some acorn squash also. And finally, I've been very nervous of like when to harvest them and when not to. And finally, I decided it was time to go for it. And then what else? I'm trying to think of anything else I got out of the garden. Oh, more tomatillos, of course. So I am actually drowning in tomatillos. So I have more salsa verde that I need to make, and I need to go grab some cilantro to do that. But anyway, I did some gardening, and then I got picked up, cleaned up, came in here to cut more paper I want to cut a whole bunch of paper for my turmeric print project. So, and this time I'm going a lot smaller. Where we left off in the last video, where I left off recording with the last video, I showed you a print that I had done of some orchids in a bowl. And I have learned since that was I made a negative for it instead of a positive, and this process requires you to make a positive. So let me just show you the other prints that I have made. So that's one. So this is actually using a proper positive instead of a negative. And these are giant. So what I'm doing today is cutting really like small, like 6x7 pieces of paper. So this is the orchid that is properly done. So the flowers are, you can see, are like white versus black. So I am learning. Every time I do this process. I have to keep them in a box because they are light sensitive still. So the image will actually disappear over time. I read on Reddit, somebody said that theirs will disappear within 3 months if it's hanging on a living room wall, like not in direct sunlight, but not protected. And even UV glass and like all of that will not protect this process. So that's also why I'm using it. It's very ethereal, it's very esoteric. It's something that will disappear over time. So it's something that I'm going to scan these images in order to capture and in order to create the book that I want to create. So since it's going to be a book in intention, since these are going to have to be scanned, so then they could be printed instead of actually selling the originals because they'll literally disappear, I am making them small. So these are like the 6x7s. I'll have to soak these so that they get the bend out and so that they're sized in order to print. So that's one of my tasks today. I do need to get a bunch of like marketing for like client work done. So I kind of have a time crunch on me, but I wanted to do my studio stuff first so that I could kind of be a little bit more level-headed and prioritize myself and my own work versus going right into client work right away today. So I'm going to keep cutting this paper. So I got my paper cut. I got about 38 pieces of paper out of that roll. A tiny bit left for tests or whatever that wants to be. So we'll see how far we can get with this paper. And then I was starting to get stressed out about picking a different paper if I run out of this one. And I decided that that's something to worry about for a different day. So this is gonna go, oh, here's some more. So this is gonna go into my flat file for safekeeping until it's time to use. And I'm gonna cover it with newsprint in there so that it doesn't scratch. And then I've got about 10 sheets that are soaking in water that are sizing, and I'll soak those for a few hours and then I'll hang them up to dry. And I am gonna spend, well, one, I need to clean my desktop now because I was using a dull blade for majority of that, which was really silly. And then it just is never lost on me that then I change the blade and I'm like, oh, amazing. X-Acto knives actually like really cut. So I have some paper everywhere. I need to clean my space up a little bit. And then what I wanted to do is spend, since my head's in this project, I'm thinking about, okay, what are these gonna look like on this paper? When do I want to coat this paper? All of that. I'm going to go through and do another little review, another little edit on the actual images. So I might pick out like, maybe we pick out like 10 or 20 that I for sure know that I want to print. And maybe that's the way I do it today instead of going through the whole stack and doing yes, no, maybes again. So I'm gonna do that. So I'm doing exactly what I said I wasn't going to do, and I'm going through the whole stack. $88 so far in this cut that I haven't printed, 3 that I have, and then I threw out 1 because it's a repeat. So this is still quite a large stack, so I'm just checking the ones that I have printed. I'm looking to see like if they're just like generally shapes or anything like glaring that doesn't fit or can be, or anything that's too repetitive, like I have too many hands, I have too much food, I have like anything like that that's just generally gonna be like too much. And then soon, stay tuned, I'll start pairing things up and putting them into like taping them into like a little booklet or sketchbook or something to see if there are pairs that make sense. And when I'm making the pairs, since they're going to be in a different process, they're all going to be that reddish, that like terracotta, womb red, blood red. I'm just going to be looking at like shapes and concepts that speak to each other. How they speak together and what do they say when they're together, that kind of thing. And I've been challenged by a friend, colleague, to potentially put some poetry together with these. And so I think I've mentioned it before, but I need to go through my poetry and find some on-theme things, and then I might be able to make a story arc out of that, and then maybe the images will come around it more, like in that way. I'm seeing things that I want to put like together. Now I'm realizing that I need another closet door. Oh, I have one. I need another closet door and need more sticky tack. I actually do need more sticky tack. I don't have any sticky tack to be able to put these up on a door in some pairings and then start moving them around, because I'm starting to see that maybe just looking at them all together is really overwhelming. And if I start pairing them and then seeing what can happen in these pairs, it may take me on my next journey. And I'm just realizing right now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my antics, but there's a post office box with a small package in it. A small package could be inserted from the mail room in the back, but not from the front where the receiver receives the mail. And I remember wrestling with that box for like 10 minutes while I had a baby in one hand and trying to get the box out with the other hand. Hysterical. So I have that box that's like trapped inside of that thing, and then I have a baby in a box picture, and so we'll see if those can play well together. There's like this box trapped but not trapped thing, maybe. And again, I'm seeing like healing, feeding baby, feeding myself, hands, like touch, this like attachment, like never alone, messy, small things, small precious things, rest, noticing small textures and light, that kind of thing. So I'm going to keep playing with this. So I hit a little wall with studio time. I'm looking at all of these images. I feel a little bit overwhelmed because I'm like trying to get ahead of myself and pair things up rather than just like cutting them down. And I have been at it since 9 o'clock. It is now 5:15. So I am going to come to a stopping point on studio work. I'm going to pivot to some marketing work and computer work. So that's what I'm going to do. But I'm hoping to, the paper is still soaking in, so they're sizing. So once I soak those for a couple hours, once they look pretty saturated and they're not bent anymore, I'm going to take those downstairs to the little dark room to hang those up to dry. And then I am going to probably tomorrow, maybe Monday, mix up a turmeric solution with alcohol in order to coat those. But for tonight, I am done and I am going to move on to some marketing client work. So, hi. It is Tuesday and I am in the studio today and I have been kind of researching. I call it research. I've been just kind of like doing the things where you just like move through the studio, like you've been moved through the space doing things. And call it studio time. So like maybe a little bit of rearranging, maybe some research into some concepts and resources. I also had a coaching session with a client this morning and then also had a artist coffee date with a friend that's in Colorado, that's an artist in Colorado. And that was super life-giving and fun. And I got to ask her some questions just around what her practice has been looking like, and also some things that I've been struggling with and just wanted to pick her brain on as far as like what is bringing her hope and motivation in her creative practice right now. Like, because she is also an awake and aware person going through seeing like what we're going through in this world and in this country right now, and just wanted to hear where other people are finding hope and finding reasons to still create, even though it seems like so counterintuitive to create right now. I do believe that it is like the most important time to create, and that work can be very revolutionary in times like these, and very impactful from a historical lens, like once we're in the future looking back. And also, it's one of the hardest things for me to remember right now is that making is just like so important, because it can just feel, my own work, my personal work can feel really futile compared to some of the things that are going on in the world, and even somewhat self-indulgent sometimes. And so I've just been struggling to prioritize the making, and it was really good to talk to her about it and just get her take a little bit and what she's been doing to like jumpstart her energy there. So it was really nice to chat with her. I feel pretty inspired after that, and I'm really glad, really thankful for my past self that set that up in a time, on a day where I was just like, man, I really need to talk to somebody. I wonder if this person would chat with me. And we were able to set it up, and it was great. Just an hour, and you can leave so different. So thankful for that. So at this point in the day right now, I have done some computer work. I have had those meetings. I've also been sorting. I'm looking at in front of me all of the minis for my mothering and remothering project that I'm working on, and started setting those up on the closet door. Finally got some sticky tack, and so I was able to start kind of like pulling those off in pairings to see what kind of movements are happening and what's going on there. And then I was sitting there staring at it from my desk over here like this, and realizing that I am like following this pattern of pairing, and so I need to kind of mix that up a little bit. I don't want it to get like really redundant. And then also I started asking questions like, well, why even am I doing it in pairs if this is going to be a book? Some things can stand on their own, some things could be in threes, some things could be in smatterings, just like what structure or what scaffolding am I working within? So I've been asking a lot of questions around that today, and kind of walked away, gave it a break. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 potential pairings. And I still have like, oh my gosh, like 40, 50 images on my desk in front of me that I am discerning around. And so I was just getting a little bit overwhelmed, getting too into the nitty gritty about it. It was getting less like intuitive. And so I wanted to step away from it. And it's probably time to start moving into something else for the day. So my parents are coming for dinner tonight, so that's exciting and fun. And I would like to feel like I did something today, which is a really big motivator for me, unfortunately. So I think I might work on either creating the turmeric emulsion and getting that on some paper and getting that drying, or I'm going to transition into some marketing work for the day and get that done. So here we are, studio day.